Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cool Sports Guy. I'm Tom, and we are here in Week 7 of the National Football League, and we're going to do our picks. So far, so good. Last week, had a little bit of an upgrade. I believe I went 10-4, and my colleagues did a little worse than I did. So we are keeping tally, and we'll halfway through the season, we'll take a look at it again and see where all of us stand. But for now, we're going to get going for Week 7. So here we go. I'm just going to put the slides up there for everybody to see. All right. But before we get started and I take these off, please make sure you check us out on our website, coolsportsguy.com, our Facebook page, our Instagram, and our Twitter account. Once again, thank you so much for joining, and we will get started. So Week 7 NFL. The first and foremost, the slides I don't have on here is we usually don't do the Thursday games. The Thursday games are usually part of our Thursday Night Thinkers. Unfortunately, we're not going to have one of those. So we have the Saints and Cardinals playing just to get it out of the way. We believe the Cardinals all three of us believe the Cardinals are going to win the game. Saints are playing good football. They're putting up a fight. They're putting up high scores. They're coming close, but they're losing close games, it looks like. And I think Cardinals are on their way to a better football team than they were in the beginning of the season, which is very rare for me to say. But I have faith in the Cardinals to pull this win off, and so does my colleagues. So yes, Cardinals is who we got. But aside from that, we'll start with the Sunday games. So here we go. The first game that we have on Sunday is Texans at Raiders. So this one is pretty straightforward. So the bad news for the Raiders is Texans are coming off of a bye. And on top of that, I would say bad news for Raiders is that the Raiders have lost too many games. They've lost games that they should not have lost. And they're at a point where if you lose one more game, they are kind of out of the competition at that point. So this game is very important for them. Good news is, hey, Raiders are also coming off of the bye, and they are a better team than the Houston Texans, and they are playing in Las Vegas. So they got that going for them. And listen, I think the Texans are what their record is, and I don't think that's the case for the Raiders. I think the Raiders are a much better football team than their record shows. So I have to go with the Raiders here. And Jose and my colleague Jared, all of them agree with me. They all think that the Raiders are the better football team, and they're going to win. Fun fact, this episode is going to be fairly quick for the simple fact that we got like 4 total disagreements, and even those, honestly, some of them are kind of a surprise for me, but we'll see. So moving on to the next game, we got the Browns at Ravens. So the Browns, as you guys know, started off, looked pretty good, but then they've been kind of dropping off a little bit, losing games here and there. Ravens, for whatever reason, 3 quarters through the game, you're thinking, man, they're dominant and they're just gonna, just beat their opponent by double digits. And then when the clock runs out, somehow they're losing the football game. We're not entirely sure if the Ravens are turning into the Falcons, who, by the way, are looking much better than they've been they used to in recent years. So kind of surprising, kind of exciting. This, again, pretty straightforward. It's a division game. The game is in Baltimore, and Browns without Deshaun Watson currently as great as they can look for, a couple of quarters here and there throughout an entire game. I simply have to pick the Ravens to win the game. So does Jared. So does Jose. Once again, it's a pretty straightforward game. It's a pretty straightforward pick. I don't think any of us see a reason to pick in the Browns. Now, that being said, all three of us oftentimes see eye to eye on which games and who to pick, and we tend to get those games wrong. So we'll see what happens there. But for this one, we got the Ravens winning it. The next game is the Bucks at Panthers. So Bucks got some pretty exciting news recently. Is that Ryan Jensen might be back by sometime in November rather than missing the entire season. That's huge for that offensive line. Pittsburgh loss was a big deal. Anyone who keeps up with sports know that there's a lot of loud noises going on with among the Bucks organization right now, especially centering Tom Brady, how much he's really into the game, why he went to Robert Kraft's wedding, and missed Saturday walkthrough, and then he's on the sideline yelling at his offensive linemen. I think this is a good thing. This might be the bias in me talking, but I think this is a really good thing. I really wanted them to lose a couple of games early. I honestly wanted them to lose some games with much more deficit than this. I didn't want them to lose a couple of games by 2-point conversions. No, I wanted them to lose bad for them to understand that, hey, we're not the Super Bowl team we were 2 years ago. We got to work harder. And the Steelers, who has had one win coming into this season, or sorry, not coming into the season, coming into this game so far this season, they've had one win, and they were able to beat the Bucks. And it's also kind of a wake up call to the defense that I kind of called out last week on this podcast. I think it's a wake up call to overall the entire team. I don't think they're going to turn it around overnight. I don't think they're just going to turn it around like that against the Panthers either. But I do think it's somewhat of a wake up call, and I do think that they are realizing that they have to put in a lot more work than they thought. And I again, I think that's a great thing, and I think the Bucks are going to turn it around. As of right now, look, they're playing the Panthers again. It's a division game. It is an away game. For whatever reason, the Bucks tend to play a little better away rather than at home. I don't know why, but it happens. And on top of that, the Panthers are absolute garbage. I'll be very surprised if the Buccaneers actually lose this game. So we'll see what happens there. So obviously, me being me, I picked the Bucks, and I think it's pretty fair for my colleagues to also say the Bucks are going to win this game. So they picked the Buccaneers as well. Um, Let's see, Falcons and Bengals. This one, I kind of went back and forth on it quite a bit. Bengals are starting to look a lot better than they were at the beginning of the last few at the beginning of the seasons. The last few weeks, they've looked a lot better. Saints probably should have won the game against Bengals. They got caught a little break there towards the end of the fourth. But they still caught it. They took advantage of it. They won the game. The Falcons, on the other hand, they had a pretty darn nice comeback against the Bucks and Brady, which again, it's not 100% Bucks team right now. But that being said, hey, it's usually Brady that has the comeback against the Falcons. But they were starting to have a comeback, got that second touchdown, got the 2-point conversion, put that game within 6 points. And then, of course, as we know, horrendous rough in the passer call kind of saved the game. Now, we don't know if the Falcons would have went back and won the game. Nonetheless, they started showing a lot of fight. And last week, obviously, as we know, even though it is an injury-prone 49ers team, the Falcons just went in there and just whooped it. I think they're going to come out with a lot, but they are playing in Cincinnati. And like I said, the Bengals are starting to play a lot better. I think this is going to be a very exciting game to watch for those of you that get to watch it. But ultimately, in the end, I think the Bengals are going to come off with the win. And once again, unfortunately, zero disagreements here. All right, so let's see. Lions and Cowboys. So Dak Prescott more than likely will finally be back to play. Cooper Rush's time might be coming to an end at least for the time being in Dallas. Now, that being said, I think even if Dak Prescott decides to not come back for this game and they leave Cooper Rush in there, the Cowboys defense is still the Cowboys defense, and they're phenomenally they're just playing great. And they are the reason that they won all the games they did. I'm not trying to take anything away from Cooper Kupp. He's good, but he's not great. He's not. He was the force that helped them not lose the games most of the time. And as we saw last week, if he wouldn't have turned the ball over that many times, they probably had a chance of winning that game. So, but either way, I think Prescott is going to start. I think that defense is fantastic, and I think they're going to put up a really good fight. Lions are coming off of a bye. I was super high on the Lions, and I expected them to do much better so far in the season. They've been a letdown. I think this game's going to be fairly high scoring, especially if Dak Prescott plays, considering that the Lions are coming out of a bye. But I don't, well, no, It's going to be more like a 20-31 game. I think Cowboys are going to win it. So maybe not as high scoring. It's going to be high scoring for the Cowboys, not for the Lions so much. So we'll see what happens there. But again, I got the Cowboys winning. So let's see what. I don't think there was any disagreements there either. Oh, I messed up something there. But hey, there you go. All of us. All of us chose the Cowboys to win that game. Giants of Jacksonville. Our first disagreement. Look, I was super high on Jacksonville. I was not at all high on the Giants. I had Doug Peterson as winning Coach of the Year, but you know what? It might be Dayball. He's probably gonna win it. They won multiple games that are super close for whatever reason in the fourth quarter, second half of the football game. They tend to turn it around. They tend to do 10 times better than they did in the first half. Um, I'll say this again. I'm not the biggest fan of Daniel Jones still. That being said, he has been playing much better. Maybe he's just putting everything he's got out there because they didn't give him an extension and he knows, hey, this is my last shot. And you know what? I'm just going to go out there and have fun and play football. And if that was his mentality, man, it's working. You should have done it from the get go because they are doing better. Jaguars, on the other hand, started off hot, looked like they're going to make the playoffs, looks like they're going to win a lot of games, and then lost 3 games in a row, including a game to the Houston Texans and a game to the Indianapolis Colts, who they initially, beginning of the season, defeated bad. So I don't know if that's because the Colts just got tremendously better. Jacksonville's maybe starting to lose it. I know the chances of a 4-game losing streak for Jacksonville is not something I wanted and something that the odds are against. The game is in Jacksonville, but ultimately, looking at how both of these teams are playing right now, looking at how they're being coached right now, I had to go with the Giants to win the football game. I'm very glad I picked them last week against the Baltimore Ravens. I had a feeling they were going to come in and just find a way to win that game, and I'm going to expect the same from them this game as well. Jose agrees with me. He went with New York. I think he's starting to catch on, but Jarrett, for whatever reason, decided to go with Jacksonville. Maybe he thinks the probability of losing 4 games in a row is very low. He also might just think that the New York Giants are a fluke team that is just winning all these games, which I don't know, man. I don't know how many flukes in a row you can get, but hey. Anyway, we'll move on. Colts at Titans. This game is something that I kind of went back and forth on quite a bit. Excuse me. The Colts, I was super high on the Colts in the beginning of the year, and then they looked like they looked almost just like the Denver Broncos when it came to the defense, or I'm sorry, the offense, and the defense was just worse than the Denver Broncos. So it was just terrible. They had one of the saddest games I've ever seen against the Broncos on that Thursday Night Football. But last week they brought it. Last week, that team looked like they were in a lot better rhythm, especially towards the end of the game. Matt Ryan had the game sealing touchdown pass. He looked a lot more comfortable. He looked a lot better, and I haven't really seen that from Matt Ryan all this season. And that it looked like Matt Ryan. Titans, on the other hand, started off not so hot, and they are starting to they're a little sneakier. Nobody's really talking about the Titans, but they're there. They're in the fight, and they can very much also win the division. They can also give the Colts a run for their money. The game is in Tennessee. This was kind of a nail biter, flip a coin game for me. I had to go with the Colts. However, let's see who Jared picked, the Colts as well, and I think, yep, Jose decided to pick the Titans to win. So I'm glad there's a disagreement there. Hopefully, in this case, last game, Jose agreed with me, so I hope Jose is right. This game, Jose, I hope you're wrong. So we'll see what happens. So there's 1-1 right there, disagreements. All right. Packers to Commanders, not much to okay, well, actually, it's not much to talk about here. Look, if I'm the Packers, I'm worried, I'm scared. Because you just lost to the Giants, who, hey, they're looking a lot better than we anticipated them to be. But you also lost at home to the Jets, who also is looking a lot better than we thought they will be. But But I don't think the Jets are at the Giants level yet. Yes, they have a really good defense, but you have Aaron Rodgers, and somehow you still managed to put up 10 points. You were at home. That is very concerning. If I'm the Packers, I'll be very worried. That being said, I wouldn't be that worried this week because you're playing the Commanders. And the Commanders are undoubtedly one of the worst teams in football today, this season. They're not good. They are not good at all. I think the Bears kind of beat themselves just a little bit in the last game. Maybe a little bit of help from the refs for the Bears to lose last game. But nonetheless, I think the Bears were the better football team out on the field. They just couldn't finish drives. If they would have finished one more drive, they would have caught that ball 3 more inches, into the end zone. The Bears would have won the game. Commanders are not a good football team, and they're going to continue not to be a good football team. And Aaron Rodgers is not about to come in and lose 3 games in a row. The Packers are going to win this game. And anyone who disagrees with me on this one, man, you can either see the future and it just looks really, really bad for the Packers, or you're just hating. I don't know, but the Packers are going to win. I don't think any of us disagree with each other on this one. That being said, again, if I'm the Packers, I'll be worried. I'm concerned right now. It's not looking good. Get the Broncos. Ooh, okay. So, man, this is another one I went kind of back and forth on. So, Russell Wilson, as of right now, is questionable to play on Sunday. Russell Wilson has a hamstring issue, but even without the hamstring issue, now we don't know when the hamstring issue exactly started, but even without it, Wilson has looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL this season. It's saddening to watch. Jets, on the other hand, like I just mentioned, their defense is tremendous. They're doing great. But the reality is, it doesn't matter which defense is playing against the Broncos at this point. The Broncos are going to put up anywhere between about 7 to 13 points. That looks like their range right there, 7 to 13. That's what the Broncos are going to do. And if the Jets can, and that's probably what the Jets are going to hold them to. The Jets offense, I think it's slightly overrated. I think it looks a lot better than they are. The Broncos have a really, really, really good defense, and I think Zach Wilson's going to feel the pressure this week. This is going to be a very low-scoring game. That being said, Jets are traveling from New York to Denver to play Denver. I had to go with my gut here. I don't really have a valid excuse on to why I picked the Broncos to win the game. My colleagues clearly disagrees with me. They decided to pick the Jets to win the game, which I could see. I don't blame them for picking it, but I had to go with my gut. I had to pick the Broncos. Plus, we have to disagree on some games if I'm going to catch up and have a better record at the end of the season, which, by the way, I am catching up one game at a time, 1 week at a time, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't matter. All right. Seahawks Chargers. So, once again, Seahawks look like the greatest offense in NFL right now, but also looks like the worst defense in the NFL right now, or at least one of the worst defenses in NFL right now. Chargers, like, this is pretty straightforward. I think it could be a high-scoring game. Chargers is a better, well-rounded team. And I hate to put it this way because I really like blanking on blanking on the Seahawks head coach, Pete Carroll. I really like Pete Carroll, but I think the Chargers are doing a better job coaching right now. And I think that's going to show in this game. I think Chargers are more well-rounded. I think they are playing in L.A., and so Seahawks have to travel all the way down to L.A. and, try to take the Chargers at home, who clearly is a better football team. This one, again, it was pretty darn straightforward to me and the rest of the team. I think we have. Oh, okay, never mind. We have a couple more games. I don't know why I thought that was it. I was thinking that was pretty quick. All right, so moving on to Chiefs at 49ers. So Super Bowl rematch. Mahomes and company lost last week. Do I see them losing back-to-back games? No, not really. I think if 49ers were fully healthy, I would have picked the 49ers to win this game. Something tells me that the 49ers are going to give the Chiefs a lot of trouble. If the Bills were able to give Chiefs trouble, I think the 49ers are going to be able to give the Chiefs a lot of trouble too. I don't think this game is going to be as high scoring, and I think this is going to be another game that's going to end up being in the 20s for both teams. This will be a fun, entertaining game to watch. This is the game that I chose my winner last because I wanted to pick the 49ers so bad to a point where I will be angry if the 49ers win because I ultimately ended up picking the Chiefs. As you know, my colleagues think highly of the Chiefs, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. The defense is looking a lot better. They're just playing very well-rounded football, so they have no reason to pick against the Chiefs. So they obviously went with the Chiefs. And I was very close, but I ultimately I had to go with the Chiefs. But I think the 49ers are going to give them a run for their money, especially coming off of a loss last week against the Falcons. Steelers at Dolphins. So again, Steelers, who started off extremely terrible, are going to take on the Dolphins. Tua will be back. It looks like he's going to be playing in this game, and they're going to hopefully have the same level of success on offense that they had before he went down. Steelers, on the other hand, looks just because they beat the Bucks last week does not make them a good football team. I think there's still so many gaps. They're still terrible. I think, to my knowledge, it's probably going to be Mr. Trubisky that's going to be starting this week. Let's face it, I really like him, but he has not proven to be a really good quarterback for the Steelers, except for that final quarter against the Buccaneers last week. This game is in Miami. It's starting to cool down a little bit more in Miami, so it might finally help the Steelers. But as of right now, it's not looking too. It's still Miami. Teams tend to struggle a bit over there. I think it's going to be an interesting one, but nonetheless, I think the Dolphins are going to come off with the win. And boom, agreed. Steelers are not good, guys. Mike Tomlin is a really, really good coach, and Steelers are just not good. Now, that being said, to his old coach, guess where he is? He's at Pittsburgh. So it's gonna be we might see a couple of curveballs thrown at Tua here in this game. Bears at Patriots. Look, the Patriots are looking so much better. I don't really want to say Zappy's a much better quarterback than Mac Jones is, but he looks like he has better control over that team, at least that offense, and he's doing a much better job. The Patriots defense is starting to look like a Patriots defense. Last week, I picked him to win the game. Nobody believed me, and they kicked ass. And this week, I got to pick them again. I don't think the Bears are a very good football team this year. Look, you lost to the Commanders. You were close. You could have beaten them, but you lost to the Commanders last week. I don't think that they're going to come out of their shell, go into New England and beat the Patriots. And Patriots are kind of hot right now. It's pretty basic, straightforward for me. Unfortunately, for some of us, it's not. Jared had to go with the Bears, but Jose and I, we had to make the pick that made more sense, and I think it's the Patriots. I think the Patriots are gonna win this game. But you know what? I'm kind of glad Jared's disagreeing with me because once again, I got to play some catch up. So it's gonna be great. That's all the games we have for the week. Once again, 2 more weeks of this, and we'll rally all of our wins and losses together, and we'll see where we're standing, how we're doing. Hopefully, well above 500, and hopefully, I'm caught up to my colleagues because it was not a hot start for me either. And once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Check us out on our website, coolsportsguy.com, our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And until then, I will see you guys. Thank you, and have a great day.